"Have you seen this dwarf?" demanded the larger of the two guards as they blundered into the stone Unturned, a small inn just a stone's throw, or short pursuit, outside the city walls. The guard was shaped like a pile of boxes stacked up the wrong way, with the largest at the top, and was waving an artist's impression of Jorgha that could perhaps most generously be described as based on a true dwarf. "Him? Never," lied the innkeeper, a wiry elf with aquiline features and a smooth, clear voice, with the practiced nonchalance of a man who had seen this play before. Mostly because he had. 31 times by his count. In fact, he was less a spectator and more a supporting actor at this point, in which case he supposed he might as well put on a show. "You didn't even look at the picture, Senor," protested the other guard, a stubby little man of no more than 20, who seemed remarkably to have risen to the lofty rank of captain of the guard, without going to the bother of ever being a guard first. In fact, that's exactly what he had done, riding his silver spoon like a witch's broomstick up the corporate ladder and already far beyond his own competence. Yet he still acted like a man with said spoon inserted firmly up his backside. This nauseating mix made him almost uniquely unpleasant, and not for a lack of competition, amongst the city's inhabitants. "My dear boy, Urinel, is it?" said Senor as insincerely as he thought he could get away with. "That's Captain Urinel to you, elf," squeaked Urinel, doing his best to imbue the words with authority, but instead veering clumsily into a childish whinge. "Very well, Captain Urinel," mocked Senor. "I've seen the poster more than enough. They've been using the same one since before you were born. They just add more grey to the beard every few years." Urinel turned slowly to the larger man, who was now inspecting the rafters in a more than passable impression of a dog who thinks if they just don't look at what they've done wrong, they won't get in trouble. "Is that true, Cormax?" "Well, we thought that if," mumbled Cormax, who, if he was planning on getting to the point, was taking the scenic route. Urinel put him out of his, and everybody else's, misery. "So you're telling me we've spent the last 3 hours asking people whether they've seen a dwarf who they can't have seen in 20 years at best, because you imbeciles didn't bother to get a new picture done?" "It sounds even stupider when you say it, Captain," offered Senor. Urinel shot him a murderous look, and the elf raised his hands in supplication, knowing better than to push his luck any further. "A haircut is enough to create a new identity in this city thanks to these idiots," raged Urinel. "Cormax, we're leaving, and bring that damned poster with you." With that, he turned on his heel and stormed out. Cormax gave Senor an exasperated look, audibly sighed, and followed Urinel back outside. "Thanks, Senor. I owe you one," said Jorgha, climbing out from under the counter. To no one's surprise, he looked nothing like he had 20 years ago. "Actually, you owe me 32. Senor, my dear friend, who's counting?" "Me." "Aye, fair enough, lad. What was it this time?" "I was lucky enough to find a barrel of meat that had fallen off the supply cart headed to the east gate." "Jorgha, when you say fallen, do you mean been pushed?" "Let's not get bogged down in the details here, lad," beamed Jorgha. Senor shook his head in an exaggerated show of entirely false disapproval. "You're getting too old for this, Jorgha, and so am I," he said with a wink. "But if you happen to still have that mead, I'm sure we could." "Find a use for it?" "I thought you'd never ask," said Jorgha, nodding towards the trapdoor to the cellar.